All right. We got several people in the chat already. Give me a sound check. Give me a sound check. Sound check, check. All right. For some reason, some people have said my last video on YouTube was the sound was not good, but then other people said it was good and it was good during the stream. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not good at these kind of things. Some people, I don't know why. Maybe it's their problem. I don't know. Welcome everybody to CanHammer TV, Custodes Tactica, episode 23, I think 23. This is a big day. This is our emergency session to go over all of the new rules. We got full leaks, I won't call them leaks really, full reveals on Saturday in German. For some reason, German people were the only people to receive books. And thanks to the efforts of George and a couple of other people, translated everything, only to be replaced a few hours later by the actual pictures of the English pages. But good effort anyway. And then it's basically been off the hook on the Discord for the last 36 hours. I think there must have been over 5,000 messages yesterday on the Discord. It was crazy. My typing was getting tired. It was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I think we've had a jump in membership quite a lot over the last 36 hours. And we'll see, because I guess, so I made a PDF of the pictures and posted it. It's in the pins of the Discord, and I posted it in a couple of other places, and I guess it's in the wide world now. Who knows? If you want to join this infamous Discord, where all the Custodes players seem to be congregating, the link is right there. It should work, but it's right there. If it doesn't, let me know. Join our Discord. It's a huge community now, and they're constantly discussing things, and there's so much to discuss right now. So we are going to go over tonight all of the rules and give you my thoughts on it, and go over winners, losers, and go over some army list ideas, who I feel are the units that come out well from this, and answer the many, many questions that have been posted on the Discord since yesterday morning. It's quite crazy. The show will probably be longer than the usual hour, but we're going to give this our good going over. I have 9 pages of notes that I've written on every single thing in the codex, and so I hope to be as comprehensive as possible. I am not a world authority on anything, but take it as you will. These are my opinions on these things, and I happen to have a show, so there you go. So we're going to get started really quickly. We're not going to do all the usual stuff. Shout out to everybody in the Twitch chat already, the usual people, and some new people as well, so welcome. Even the Falcon is here. It is indeed an emergency. Oh boy. When the Falcon shows up, you know you're in for a good show. I would just remind people before we start, we came out, I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was at the beginning of the year, 2.5 years ago about, and it was instantly apparent that despite their costs, the bikes were maybe some of the strongest units. So instantly the Custodes Codex became known as Custodes Jet Bike, and it became a pretty common list to see, running 18, 19 jet bikes. And then somewhere around there, maybe it was the summertime, for whatever reason, they released 40k rules for all the Forge World Custodes 30k stuff. And then it became the summer of the Caladius tank, and the triple Caladius tanks were showing up in every single Imperium list possible. And then that got nerfed, and then we went through a period of adjustment of the Forge World rules, and then a chapter approved, and basically we've been playing foot list, Hidehammer, Storm Shield spamming, denial type lists since then, with the occasional complete mech list thrown in. And so that's kind of the story of Custodes over the last 2 years. And so I'm happy to say that with this book, we are joining the prime time. We are joining the prime time. I've had opinions from many people out there, including some of the guys from Art of War, and this book is good. It may not be Space Marines broken good, and I hope nothing ever is Space Marines broken good, including Space Marines. I wish just everybody has good rules that they can play in a competitive game, and skill comes out as the deciding factor. That's what I hope for everybody. And I think other than playing those crazy books, I think we are up there now. We can compete, and we're going to see how it goes. Before we start, also, I just want to say most of the things we're going to talk about really have to do with 9th edition. I know that it's still 8th edition, but really only for maybe 4 more weeks at the most by all reports. And most people are not playing right now. There's definitely not many events going on. So really, we should just talk towards 9th edition and what we know about 9th edition. Of course, we don't know everything, but what we know about it, we can frame what we talk about in terms of 9th edition. I don't even think we can play this book in 8th edition. We just don't have the CP. So we might as well just look to the future and have 4 weeks to really cogitate. The one piece of information we need, and maybe Peter has a way of getting this information for us, how much is a Vanguard detachment going to cost CP-wise? We need to know that. And I've not been able to find that out. So, yeah, we really need to know. All right. So, shout out to everybody on the chat. I won't go over everybody. There's a lot of people here. In fact, this is maybe the biggest show we've ever had. And so hopefully it's gonna be good. Let's just get started. Okay. So first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to go in the order in which I did my notes. Okay. So we're going to talk about the shield hosts. So they did confirm that shield hosts is for the detachment. It would have been really cool if we could make each unit a different shield host. That may even be considered fluffy, but in fact, it applies to the whole detachment. So given that we're going to have to pay for detachments and we really need our CP, this is a consideration. How you build your army is going to be important. We are also really sick of running battalions and sick of using the paying the tax for battalions. So it'd be nice if we didn't have to. And so people have been throwing around patrol and Vanguard lists, but that's really going to depend on how much the Vanguard costs. If the Vanguard costs 1, maybe 2, it's going to be manageable. If the Vanguard costs 3, which I don't think it is because a battalion costs 3, then it becomes unmanageable. We're going to have to think. And we really need the Vanguard because a lot of our good units are elites, including the Vexilla. So it's going to be tough, but I think patrol will form the core of your army and then probably a Vanguard. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not going to be 3. I mean, a battalion is 3. The Vanguard shouldn't be 3. Maybe 2 or 1, hopefully. Okay. So the other thing to remember while we're talking about the shield host, of course, is that each shield host, so there's no chapter tactic rule for the host. You get a warlord trait, a relic, and a strat. And you can use those if you have the shield host. And so remember, the warlord traits are all competing with... the warlord traits are okay. Some are pretty open, and the warlord trait in terms of our army is pretty open to competition. We've always been using Champion Imperium or 5-up Feel No Pain or Deny. I mean, we have pretty good warlord traits. So it's up for competition. The relic slots are really difficult. You are competing with 2 relics that give 3+ Inbalm, which is so good. So the relics got to be really good to break that. And that's 2 relics. So, that's a difficult competition right there. And in terms of strats, the strats will have to be the make or break factor almost. Is this strat good enough to run your whole army like this, or at least a full detachment? So this is what we're framing these shield host discussions on. I got water tonight and I'm going to drink it. I'm also accompanied by my pal here, Big Bertha, because he's looking to get in on the action soon, if you know what I'm saying. Bit of foreshadowing for the future of this in the stream later on. All right, the chat is going crazy. I'm going to try and keep my eye on it and respond to it when I can. But if it's mostly just people talking, that's great. Keep going. Post questions. I'll answer them if I see them as I go. So, yeah. Okay, Shadow Keepers. So Shadow Keepers is these guys. These Wardens are Shadow Keepers. Black. Boom. And they're the people who watch the jails. Raise your hand in the Twitch if you actually read the fluff on the tops of all the stratagems. It's pretty good, actually. You should read it if you have the time. You got like 4 weeks to read it, so, go for it. But, okay, so Shadow Keepers. The Warlord trait is called Lock Warden, and this was already leaked last week by GW. -1 hit on the Warlord, -1 to hit... -1 to enemy character save, including invuln, so good for character hunting for your Warlord. Still, been banding about the smash cap, biker cap sort of build. It just doesn't happen. All these things that we need to make the captain actually a smashy type of captain just don't align very well, because they're all in different sections and shield hosts and traits and things. It doesn't align very easily. You can definitely make a captain better. We're going to talk about it, but I just feel like there's not enough stuff to really put so much stuff into your captain. And at the end of the day, it's still D3 damage, and we'll talk about the Relic Axe later, but I just think there's too many different things that kind of like have to come together to make it really compelling to do. The relic for Shadow Keepers is the Stasis Oubliette. Pick enemy character within 3 inches and halve their attacks. Okay, so Ragnar only has 10 attacks now, I guess. And reroll 1 to wound against that unit. Again, there are better relics that does not beat 3+ invuln, so not good enough. Grim Responsibility is the strat for 1 CP, -1 strength to attacks against that unit for a whole phase. Yeah, I mean, that's good. -1 to wound would have been way better. There's lots of that in the game, so I don't know why they didn't just do that. That would have been much more compelling. -1 strength really only has effect at certain strength levels, so it's not really that useful, I don't think. And so I don't think it's the strat that's going to make you pick Shadow Keepers for the majority of your army. Okay. Solar Watch. So the Solar Watch is like the dudes who like guard the solar system. And so they're white, and I never painted any Solar Watch because I hate painting white. And or like cream, whatever. Solar Watch Warlord trait, Sally Forth. So 6-inch aura of +1 movement, and you can shoot rapid fire weapons after advancing with a -1 to hit. That is an excellent Warlord trait. Extra movement is always good, especially on foot sloggers, and being able to rapid fire after advancing is amazing, because you can advance to get into rapid fire range, you cover more ground, and you can still rapid fire. -1 to hit, not that big a deal for Custodes, especially you got the reroll 1s. And of course, this does combo with the double shooting of rapid fire weapons stratagem. So I think this Warlord trait is actually quite good, and is definitely puts Solar Watch near the top of our considerations. That in itself, it just makes your whole army much better versus just buffing one dude. I'm always looking for Warlord traits that make the army better. And so that is a really good trait. Now, if we're thinking like Patrol and Vanguard, then we're maybe talking about hammer units in the Vanguard and Patrol being the shootier units. And so, I think that if you're going to run a couple of detachments, you might run a Solar Watch detachment for sure. Too bad the SAGs were assault, not rapid fire. Otherwise, they might actually be good in Solar Watch, but unfortunately not. Okay, the relic is Swift Silver Talon, which is the relic spear that Warhammer community previewed. Which, as I said, if you're going to run Solar Watch, this relic on a Vexilla is probably pretty synergistic. The Vexilla always wants to advance, can shoot his Assault 4 spear, and you can still charge after advancing and falling back. So that's decent. Is it better than 3+ Inbalm? I don't think so, but it's certainly something you could definitely play around with, especially if you're running a Solar Watch detachment. So you could think about that. I think there's better things for the Vexilla to be having as part of your Homer system with Dreadhost, and we'll come to that, and the Warlord trait there. So I just don't think it's going to you're going to put the Vexilla necessarily in your Solar Watch detachment. So the stratagem is Eagle Strike for 0 CP. After you kill a character, the enemy's next stratagem costs an extra CP. I think this is super cool. I just think it's way too conditional, and that condition is not going to be fulfilled very often. And it's probably a win more, and so while it's very cool, and you should definitely keep your eye out for situations to use it if you're running Solar Watch, I don't think it's a reason to run Solar Watch. But Solar Watch is decent. Okay, next is the Emissaries. Emissarius Imperatus or something. And these are the dudes who, they're the emissaries. And so the Warlord trait is called Voice of the Emperor. And this is units within 9 inches use the morale of the Warlord, and it extends all auras by 3 inches. I mean, extending the aura by 3 inches is good, so reroll auras. I don't know, I guess the Vexilla counts as an aura, so a 9-inch aura there, that's pretty good. However, the morale thing is like stupid, right? One of the things they didn't fix in our codex was the morale thing, and it remains stupid, and using this guy's morale is probably just 1 point better, because nobody in our codex is morale 10. Even Inquisitor is better than morale than us, so it's just kind of sucky. So yeah. The relic is the Vexillum Dominatus. This is our one relic Vexilla of the book, and unfortunately, you have to put it on a Vexilla Defensor. Ugh. It's no. Okay. The one Vexilla nobody ever takes is how you access this relic, so this is already definitely not as good as a 3-up Involve. But just for the sake of being complete, it rerolls fail morale like a normal Vexilla, and friendly models within 6 inches count as 3 models for objective control. I've personally never found it a big deal to have less models because everything we have is OBSEC. So even that part of it is not that good. And the whole Defensor thing, and yeah. So I think it's just not as good as 3-up Inbalm. And yeah, I don't think it's that good. The Defensor, and even if you were going to take a Defensor, you have to replace it to take this. So yeah. And in a army now that's going to be strapped for spots and points, I don't think we're running double Vexilla anymore. But we'll talk about that at the end. Okay. So the strat is Emperor's Hand for a CP. So this is the previewed strat by Warhammer community. You basically ignore all modifiers when you do an attack. So minus the hit, minus the wound, AP modifiers, of which AdMech now have 1, and ignoring cover. So, and there's cover against shooting, light cover, and shooting cover against melee, heavy cover. So that's good. I think that's a really good strat for 1 CP. There's a lot of modifiers out there, but you have to play a whole detachment as these guys just to access that strat. So I'm not sure it's going to work out. If we were still in 8th and you could just play detachments without any penalty, then fine. I think that's a great third option for your third detachment. But in 9th, where you're going to have to pay CP that we really need for detachment, you're not going to spend just for detachment of this for this. So, I don't think it's okay. The hit modifiers are going to be capped at -1, so that's not a big deal to ignore. -1 to wound is out there. Sure, that'd be nice to ignore. but it doesn't ignore things like transhuman. That's not a modifier. There's only one book so far with AP modifiers, so really it's not super applicable right now. So I think for now it is not in the top. If we're looking for 2 shield hosts, because we're going to be running 2 detachments, it's not in the top 2. Okay, Aquilon Shield. So the Aquilon Shield Warlord trait is a Revered Companion. You have damage on the Warlord. I mean, that's good, but, it's like whole detachment just for one dude. Not ideal. The relic is the Presidius, -1 to wound on a Storm Shield character. So, that's pretty good, but you already spent the money for the Storm Shield, so you don't need the 3+ invuln relic, obviously, but you spent that money, and then now it's -1 to wound on that one guy. So, again, just protecting one guy is just kind of like, eh. And then the strat is Shield of Honor, 1 CP. Basically, it's a bodyguard strat, so you pick an Imperium character who gets protected by a Custodes, Infantry, or Dreadnought. And within 3 inches, and basically you target and measure range to the character, but then you resolve the attack as if you're attacking the other thing. So people have been throwing around now this whole, you get a Custodes detachment just for a shield captain, you buff him up, and then he can take wounds for a Castellan. Sure, knock yourselves out. I mean, the Castellan needs a lot of CP. He's only going to start with 12 now. They used to have 18, these knight lists, if people remember. And the Custodes are going to need CP too to run their part, and it's just not going to be good. But it's a cool little gimmick. People should try it. But I don't think, and we're not talking soup tonight, of course. We're talking Custodes, so people can discuss that over in soup. Okay. Dread Host. So, the Dread Host is probably where the money's at. The Dread Host, of course, is like the Annihilator guys, like the hardcore fighters. And the Warlord trait is All-Seeing Annihilator. Exploding 6s cause extra hit within 6 inches. That's really good. So, within a 6-inch aura, all your units get exploding 6s. And I believe that is shooting and combat. So that is amazing. Everything we have, especially now, has a lot of shots and attacks. And so your chances of exploding is just high because you run with more attacks to start with. And then you got rerolls, so it allows you chance of rolling more 6s. It's like really good. It just adds that much more to your attacks. So, all your guys are rocking like 3-4 attacks. Like you're gonna get a bunch of 6s, and with your rerolls in there as well. It's like really good. And yeah, like that's all to say. And I think if you run these guys and you run this Warlord trait, now you don't need to bring your +1 attack banner. Like you really need your elite slots. You really need the points. You just drop the +1 attack banner now, and you just take this Warlord trait. And it probably, like, it's not going to be equal, but it's going to be, you probably won't notice losing that banner as much. So that's a really good Warlord trait. And what we're talking about here is you're committing your whole detachment. So you'd like a group of things that are good, not just one here, one here, one here. So this is a good first start for Dread Host. The relic is the Admonimortis, which is a AP3, 3 flat damage Castellan axe. So that is really nice. Really nice. We have wanted flat 2, flat 3 damage. This guy's weapon is now like better than Trajan's, and that is a great axe. The issue is it as good as a 3+ invuln? I'm not sure, but generally that dude, the captain or the Vexilla, is not really getting attacked that often, and so it may be worth it just to go 4-up invuln and then go ham on this axe. Yeah, with the exploding 6s, and like I think that's pretty pretty cool. And if you want to run a shield captain on foot, like a Terminator captain or whatever, give them this axe. Oh yeah. And then they can have, because they can have the captain trait. If you want to run it on a Vexilla, I think that's still good. That's 5 attacks, some exploding. I mean, the straight 3 damage is good. So I think this is a great relic. You're gonna give up your 3+ invuln. Well, it depends what you're running, right? Because you can run extra relic. So there you go. So you could run 1 3-up invuln, say on your biker cap, and then a Vexilla with the 3 damage axe. I think that's a nice thing. So yeah, I think this is checkmark number 2 for Dreadhost. So now we got a good warlord trait and we got a good relic. So what do we need? A good strat, and boy, do we get a good strat. The strat is called Golden Light of the Moriades. And so basically, this, for a unit that deep struck, a Dreadhost unit that deep struck this turn, you get to make a 3d6 charge and drop the lowest dice for 1 CP on 1 unit, or 3 units for 2 CP. It's like good. It's like good. It's like the third check. Good warlord trait, good relic, good strat. Automatically makes Dreadhost. And one of the things we were missing is, how can I get my guys into combat other than spending 3 CP on a homer, and which you generally only did 1 time a game. But yeah, so that's really good, because now this lets us get more units in slightly more reliably. Now, this is not 100%, but it's better than whatever percent, like 47, which is a normal charge re-rolling 1 dice. So without CP, somebody calculated it out, I believe, 52% charge rate and 80% with a reroll, like a CP reroll of the lowest dice, say. If you have something that can reroll its charge, like the Orc Aquilus or the other stuff we're going to talk about, now that goes up to somewhere like 80-something%. That's really good. So that's really good. So I think... and now the question is, do you deep strike 3 units then? The thing is, we don't really have the points to deep strike 3 units most of the time because of the reserves rule. Now, I don't know if that's changing with 9th. We don't know. But assuming that stays the same, we often don't have 3 things to deep strike anyway. So really, I think you still homer 1, because 3-inch charge is better than 9-inch charge. And then you Dreadhost 1 other unit. Or 2. I mean, you got to see. Depends on your list. But I think just gives us so much more reliability on the thing we really need, which is not to get stuck on a 9-inch charge. Now, the people in the chat are talking about deep strike denials, because that's still out there. So infiltrators, the GSC stuff, and those are the main things that push you out of 12-inch. I mean, 12-inch, it's outside of 12-inch, you can't declare a charge. But, that's going to fuck you up anyway. And I think if you play those games, then you don't deep strike the things that you really need to get in, or you take those things out first. So I think, just as it always has been, you have to play around those. Those things mess everything up. So I don't think just because those things exist that you think that this shield host is not good. I think against most armies, this will be good. And against those other armies, just like you had to before, you have to play smart. So... so I think this is great. So this makes Dreadhost the best. I think it's pretty obvious to most people Dreadhost is probably the best because it plays the most to what we want to do, which is to get in there and fight people. It gives us exploding 6s. It gives us a 3 damage axe. It gives us a strat allowing more reliable deep strike. Everything else, all the other watches are some good things here and there, but they won't all come together, or they're not really things that we really care about or want to do too much. So I think this one is probably the top, and then Solar Watch is probably the second, because it boosts the other thing that we probably want to start doing now, which is shooting people. And so being able to move faster, being able to advance and shoot. And so I think that really in itself makes these two come together as our top 2. So you can see an army where you're running your hammer drop down units in a vanguard as a Dreadhost, and maybe a patrol where you have more of your shooty type units in the Solar Watch. So I think this is an interesting dynamic that we're starting to see here with these shield hosts. So it looks like bomb units probably want to be Dread Host, and and you still want to be able to use the Homer strat for sure. The character with exploding 6 aura, a 3 damage axe is pretty yummy for like a Alaris Captain or the Vexilla. I think that's a nice little combo. And if you were gonna run a double Vex, you could run the +1 attack banner too. So +1 attack banner, 3 damage axe, and the Warlord trait from Dread Host. That's some decent buff, dude, right there. You're giving up -1 to hit. It's -1 to hit is probably less important in 9th, but still important because you can still get a -1 on like a +2 or something. But we'll have to see how that turns out when the edition comes out. But I think either banner is going to be pretty sweet on this guy there. So I think that's what you're looking at: Dread Host, Solar Watch. The other ones just don't have everything. Maybe a third would be like Emissaries if you were to run a third, but then you're really running a whole detachment just for one strat. So, and the CP it costs you to run the detachment, and so it's probably not worth it. Okay, we're going to talk about CP management at the end. Okay, I'm going to talk for a while about CP. Okay. So next we're going to talk about the Captain Commander traits. Okay, so the Captain Commander traits, basically if you run a Battleforged army and you're running Custodes, you can turn one Shield Captain into a Captain Commander. And so this can be any Shield Captain, including Shield Captain on bike. They have to have the Shield Captain keyword. You cannot do this to Valoris. And basically you pick one trait from this list and he gets it. And remember, there's not a Warlord trait, so it can combine with Warlord trait and all that other stuff. So this is just a straight up buff for a CP, so I think this is basically a stratagem you're using every game, because why not? So that's good. And these are going to have real effects on your game versus something like Victor of the Blood games, which probably 2 CP is not well spent. So, and although we all thought that we were going to be spending lots of Victor of the Blood games in 9th because we have so much CP, turns out that we're probably not going to have that much CP. So I think Victor still goes in the bag, but we'll see. But these traits, I mean, you spend the CP. You just start your game with 11 CP, get used to that. You're going to spend the CP for this trait. Now, what you pick really depends on what your army does and who you put it on, but there's some standout ones, and there are some not good ones. So and you can only have one and you can't have two. So, and there's no strategy unless you put two, and only one guy can have one. So therefore you got to pick the best one for your situation. Okay. So, we got some new people. Sarah Fail, welcome. I recognize everybody else, but I'd like to just call out the newcomers. Thank you very much for joining us. We do have lots of people watching tonight, way more than normal, so that's cool. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so the first one is a wound roll of a 6. Unmodified wound roll of a 6 causes double damage. So on a Shield Captain on bike, that would be 2d3 instead of d3. But on the 3 damage Axe Relic dude, this could be 6 damage. Now, that is pretty sweet to do 6 damage. Even if it only happens once out of like 5 attacks. But man, that's situational, right? 6, like wound roll of 6. So you might get lucky and roll a couple, and now you've just done 12 damage. Of course, assuming they don't save it. But you could also roll none and do, just your normal. So, there you go. So that's an interesting one, certainly one to consider. We'll look at the other ones. So the next one is +1 move, advance, and charge. So +1 move, advance, and charge is okay. Why not move, advance, and charge further? But compared to the other ones you can get, they're probably actually not as good. The movement buff is super nice, and I think depending on the rest of your army, you might consider it. And I think you would definitely want to put this on like a biker cap. And if Postman was still a thing, then maybe this is definitely a thing. But, yeah. And so, okay, next one is a 5-up roll for each CP spent and a chance to regen it, and it's still maxed 1 per round. So, I gotta say, I think we're gonna end up picking this one a lot of time because we need CP. And this is gonna get you, considering how much CP we're going to be spending, let's say we spend all 12 CP and then another, 4, 5 rounds, so 17, like this is going to get us, up to like 4 or 5 CP extra. And our newfound strength is so CP dependent. So I think we're going to be like taking this trait a lot just to get that CP. So we'll keep that in mind, but, I think we kind of need it. Okay, next one is reroll wounds versus monsters and vehicles. That's not that good. Yeah, Seraphael, maybe one of the other guys can throw you an invite to the Discord, or I'll do it afterwards. That link is, I need to edit it. Hang on, if you guys give me 1 second, I can do it right now. All right. The new link is KUV. I hate the Discord thing. It always messes up. PSG. Okay, there's the new link. That should be good to go. Okay. Okay. So I think so reroll wounds versus monsters vehicles. I don't think it's that good. I mean, if you're running the Shield Captain on bike, you already reroll wounds on the charge. And I think they're just better ones. So I don't think you take that one. +2 wounds. So +2 wounds is really nice. It takes you from 7 to 9 on a Shield Captain on bike, or and on the Terminator Captain, and on normal Captain, it takes you up to 8. Like, that's really good. It just gives you extra wounds to tank things. Not dying from like a few smites. Your 3 damage weapons are not insta-killing you after a couple. Like, it's actually really good. It is a extra 2 wounds. Could really come in handy. Like, how many times have you played a game where there's a Shield Captain running around at the end of the game on 1 wound left, harassing and doing all sorts of crazy shit? Imagine that guy had 3 wounds left, and and with the 3-up invuln, your enemy is finding it hard to kill this guy. So yeah, I think +2 wounds is actually pretty compelling. So Okay, the next one is +2 attacks against units with 6+ models. So I think that's good, but I think, it's situational, right? 6+ models. So I think it's good, but probably not as good. D3 plus 3 inch when piling in and consolidating, and does not have to be towards the closest model. Okay, so I hate this and I love this. First of all, I hate it because it's like D3 plus 3. Why can't it just be 6? We already have that all over the place. Why can't it just be 6 inches? Right? Like there's freaking D3 again. D3 plus 3. Okay, so it's just at least 4 up to 6. I mean, the variance is not huge, but it's just annoying. It's not like bad, it's just annoying. But the true gem here is that you get to basically move wherever you want. All right? Piling and consolidate. Like, that is really good. And you can just leave combat. It doesn't say you have to end up next to a model enemy. You just leave combat. Like, it's just really good. And you can do so many shenanigans with that. And the one time I played with a stupid Dreadnought, with the Smash Captain in that game, I was playing Iron Hands, and the Smash Captain just went in, fought something, and then consolidated completely out of combat. Like, that is really good. That makes you so much tougher because you can't get hit back. So that is really good. Lets you go and tie things up. Lets you bad touch things. Lets you get on objectives. Lets you get into things that they didn't think you'd get into. I mean, that's really good. You should really give that a consideration. And of course, though, it depends on your own skill in using that ability and seeing the opportunities open to you when you're moving that guy. So that is important. So jumping behind your own units you can't really do because you cannot fly in the fight phase. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think that's really good, and people should give that consideration. I know everybody's focused on double damage, +2 wounds, 5 up CP regen, but this is really good. I mean, the problem with this list is we can only take one, and there are quite a few good ones. Okay, the next one is +1 attack for every lost wound, up to +3 attack. I mean, that's good. +3 attacks. Why not? But you have to get wounded first to get it, and you only can have 3 extra. And I don't know if anybody's heard of a dude named Ragnar recently, but that ain't no special going up to 8 attacks anymore. So while it's good, I just don't think it's as good as the other ones. And the last one is +3 to your auras. So obviously, if you have like the Dreadhost Warlord trait, for example, this actually is very good. Gives your reroll aura better. If you're the that's all fine. Again, I just don't think it's quite as good as the other ones. But yeah, so tough choice. I sneakily think we're going to need to run the CP regen. What we're going to have to do is just play some games and see how the CP spreads out, see how much effect we get from that drip CP at the beginning of every turn, and if we're still running Trajan, that D3 back, and see. If we don't need the CP, then we don't need the CP regen trait. That's pretty straightforward. And if we don't need the CP regen trait, then we're really looking at +2 wounds or the shenanigans movements. I think that those two are probably the best, and double damage is behind that. The problem with the double damage is ruining on 6s, and I don't know about you, but if you don't roll 6s very well, then that's not going to help you. So I think that's probably what we're looking at. We're going to be forced to run CP regen, and if we're not, then we're going to do +2 wounds or the pile-in consolidate shenanigans. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. We will have the discussion later about Trajan when we talk about CP. Okay. All right. It's hard to keep up with that chat, man. It's going crazy. Okay. So now we're going to go on to strats. Now, this is where a lot of the power of our army comes from. Pretty much in keeping with a lot of other PA books where the strats are the true power of the army, but some armies have lots of good rules too. We didn't get hardly any rules, but we got a lot of strats. And man, did we get some good strats. We really did. So we're going to look through these, and we're going to point things out. And the one thing I recommend people do is read the stratagem very carefully about who you can use it on. Adeptus Custodes unit versus Adeptus Custodes infantry or vehicle. Or you really pay attention to that, because some people have already been caught out by just glazing over those little words, and those are important words, okay? Okay. So the first strat, I don't think this is the same order as in the pages, but anyway, this is the order I typed it, so it is what it is. Okay, first strat, 10,000 heroes. For 1 CP, you give a warlord trait to a character. So given our warlord traits, I think if you're running I think you're almost always starting the game with 10 CP, because you're probably going to run an extra warlord trait. If you're running Dreadhost, you run the Dreadhost Warlord trait, and then if you're not running another detachment or you don't want that other one, we still have plenty of good Warlord traits. 5 up, Feel No Pain, Heroic Intervention trait, Deny with a +1. We still have a lot, -1 hit. Like, we still got the Codex Warlord traits are good. So I think we're just going to be running 2 Warlord traits. So keep that in mind. Probably spending 1 to 2 CP right off the bat for Commander trait and extra Warlord trait. Okay, the next one is Eternal Penitent. For 1 CP, your Dreadnought gets +1 attack and reroll charges. Okay, so the theory was that they were writing this without thinking about Forge World. The theory was that because the Forge book is coming out, that they weren't going to write any specific rules about Forge. We weren't going to see stuff in here targeting Aquilon or whatever, right? But this quite clearly is for Forge World, right? Like, who's buff +1 attack and reroll charges on that freaking Contemptor Dreadnought, which is like stupid, right? Doesn't even have a combat weapon. So like, this is clearly Forge World based, right? We have no other Dreadnoughts. So, and I'm glad it's in here. So basically, this is another CP if you're obviously running a Telamon, which you probably should, because otherwise Big Bertha here is going to kick your ass. This is another CP auto take. And sorry, I forgot, +1 relic, an extra relic probably. So now you're starting the game with 9 CP now already. 8 or 9 CP to start with before anything happens, right? So if you're running a Dreadnought, if you're running the Telamon, or if you're running the Achilles, probably not running the Gallus because it still sucks, then you're spending a CP for extra attack and, very importantly, reroll charges. Because now your Dreadhost Telamon is on 3d6 charge with a reroll, and that is super reliable. That's just what you needed to get this bad boy in without having to homer. And keep in mind, though, you got to spend another CP to deep strike it. So it starts getting expensive, you see? You're down to like 7 now before you even started the game. So you got to think about that. But, you know, like +1 attack, reroll charge, super good. Super good. Okay. Next stratagem, Ancient Artifice. For a CP, you now half damage on that Dreadnought. So it's the old half damage strat, which we now get. Oh boy, you put that on this dude. So this guy's already maybe -1 to hit from a Vexilla. He's 16 wounds, T8, 2 up save, 4 up invuln, 6 up feel no pain, and now half damage? What? So that's pretty good. Almost certainly it's gonna get nerfed, okay? It almost certainly will, but -1 damage is still good. Okay, it's still good. It's not all as crazy as half damage, because that's stupid, but -1 damage is still good. So, especially with the amount of damage that's actually going to be getting through. So, yeah. So that's still good. 1 CP, fine. I'm pretty sure it's going to get nerfed, but until we have that, we just keep playing it as it's written. Okay. Indomitable Engines for 1 CP, so 5 up Feel No Pain against mortals for the phase for your vehicle. So again, vehicle just helps you against the mortals. Yeah, so I don't know, in our crazy fight for CP now, I'm not sure if that's a thing you're going to be using very often, but it is there if you need it. Okay. Vengeance of the Machine Spirit for 2 CP. Your vehicle with Machine Spirit can either make a single attack, a single shooting attack with one of its weapons, or auto-explode. And which vehicles have Machine Spirit is basically all of our vehicles other than Dreadnoughts. So Land Raiders, the Flyers, all the floaty tanks, they all have Power of the Machine Spirit. I think we're not going to be spending the 2 CP on this. Even unless you're running a mech list, then you have plenty of CP to spend on this. Go for it. If you're not running a mech list and you happen to have a Dreadnought or something in your list, you're not going to be spending the 2 CP on this. It's just the economy of CP does not work out to spend 2 CP on this. But if you're running mech list, go for it. Go for it. Explode your Cladius every turn. That's the bomb. Okay. Arcane Genetic Alchemy for 2 CP is transhuman. Transhuman physiology, and it gives us everything. It works on everything except for vehicles. So unfortunately, it doesn't work on the Telamon, but it will work on all your infantry and bikers. So this is one of few things that maybe really helps bikes. Is a transhuman. Now, transhuman for us is not as good as transhuman for Marines, just because we're already tougher. So a lot of the stuff that's lower than our toughness, and so it'll be even less relevant for bikes because they're T6, doesn't affect them. So it kind of sucks. I wish we'd gotten a better transhuman, or maybe our transhuman was only 1 CP instead of 2 CP. But there's a lot of big stuff that wants to shoot us that does help us. Everything strength 7 and up, basically, or strength 6 for your foot guys. So I think it's still going to be good. You may feel like 2 CP is a lot, and it probably is, but it's going to save your bacon a lot of times. And when that Smash Captain comes and hits you with his 4 damage Thunderhammer, you're going to be happy for Transhuman. When Ragnar comes around, you're going to be happy for Transhuman. So I think you definitely, it's good to have Transhuman. Fine. And of course, it works on bikers, which is great. So one of the things that really hurts us, battle cannons, relic battle cannon, demolishers, Avenger Gatling cannons, all those things on your foot troops are now transhumaned, and that makes them way less effective. And combined with some other strats that we have down there, this is one part of our newfound defensiveness. Transhuman. Okay. Next, Fortress of Willpower for a CP. Your unit can deny a power on a 4+. And that's good if they were the target of the power. So it's basically like a 4+ deny strat if they were targeted. And if that unit that was targeted was a Warden unit, then it's a 3+. That's great, but you have to be targeted to stop it. So it's fine for smites and stuff like that, obviously, but it doesn't help you for like warp times and non-targeted things or buffs, your enemy buffing things. So it's just another tool we have for psychic defense, which is great, always welcome. So keep that in mind for a CP. As you're going to see later, I think Wardens are going down, so it's probably not going to be that often you're going to use the 3-up deny, but that's obviously good if you have some Wardens. This is the one thing that Wardens get from the book. So just another piece of our anti-psyker defense, which has got quite a number of upgrades in our new book. Okay, Blood Games Veterans. Not to be confused with Victor of the Blood Games. Okay. Let's see, we got some new people. Palance the Baby Valley, a Silent Rock, and welcome guys. Okay, so Blood Games Veterans. So basically, rolls of 6 auto hit and wound. And it's 1 CP for 5 or less models in the unit, 2 CP for 6 or more models in the unit. I think this is really good. And this is not limited to any specific type of unit. So this works on bikes, it works on Caladius tanks, it works on dreadnoughts, it works on everybody. And being able to auto hit is not a huge deal because with the reroll 1, we basically auto hit anyway. But auto wounding is really good. So the Caladius got nerfed to strength 7, but now if you can auto wound on some of those on a T8, that's good. Bikes, auto wounding with 60 bolter shots on a knight to force some 3-up saves. You're going to get some through, a lot more than normal. So, that's good if you're really desperate. Auto wounding is good. Especially if you have high AP weapons, you force that tough save. So like the Caladius tank, stuff like that. So, and it's 1 CP on the Caladius tank because it's just 1 model. I think this is something to keep in mind if you're getting desperate and you're shooting bolters at knights and things like that. But in the grand scheme of our CP management, I think it's going to be tricky. But this is definitely just another tool that we have that we can use. Okay. Next is Otech Munitions. So this is 1 CP. And this is basically you give a weapon that has D6 damage, the Melta rule. So you roll 2 and you pick the highest. And damn, I wish this clearly should have been the D3 becomes 2 or D3 becomes 3 damage rule strat. Okay, so we're going to list the things that have D6 damage. Okay, here we go. Okay, so salvo launchers, if you pick the Melta profile, has D6. And it doesn't have the Melta rule already. The Pyrothite spears already have the Melta rule. albeit at half range and they're short range, but they already have it. Achilles Spear doesn't have it, but it has a min 3 damage. Las Cannons on the Land Raider, and that's it. So it just seems like they really, like, if this could have been a 2 or 3 damage for D3 damage type strat, obviously it would have been so much better. But so this is gonna have limited uses. So yeah, this is gonna have limited uses. So, you know, probably not that great in the end. Probably not that great. Now, and the spear was min 3. So, and it's in melee. So really, like, if you want to run a bunch of mech lists with Land Raiders, then you're probably going to be using this strat a lot, again, for mech. But otherwise, I don't think you're going to be spending the CP on this strat very often. And despite the, we'll talk about bikes and the heavy and maybe running salvos and stuff, I just still don't think that, I think, like, it's going to be okay. Like, if you have a whole unit of bikes with salvo launchers, like, okay. But, you know. Okay. So, superior fire patterns. So this is the stratagem that was leaked on Warhammer Community that we raved about for an hour and a half on Thursday. 1 CP, double number of shots on rapid fire and pistol weapons. So we already know this is good. I won't spend too much time going over it again, but it's just so good, and it combos with the Solar Watch Warlord trait. Like, it's just really good. And actually, I think it's going to be much more effective on things doing 2 damage. So our normal bolters, Venatari pistols, stuff like that, versus like the higher volume of shots doing 1 damage, like the Aquilon. But I think you just use it on whoever you need to use it on for a CP, and just take out whatever it is you need to take out. So yeah, I mean, this strat is just so good. Okay. Next is Auramite and Adamantium, or double A as I'll call it. And for 1 CP, Terminators treat AP 1 and 2 as AP 0. Boom! So we were hoping for a, army rule to ignore AP, but this is almost as good. At the end of the day, it'd be cool for a whole army to have it all the time, but most of the time you just need it on a unit that is getting pasted. So this is so good and really makes our Terminators super tough. Super tough. So this combined with Transhuman and a couple other things we're going to talk about, like, it just makes them super tough because we have 2-up save. It's one thing to ignore AP and then only have a 3-up save. It's a totally different thing to ignore all that AP and then have a 2-up save. So good. And that was what was wrecking us. High volume, -1, -2 shooting. Now all that just becomes AP 0. You're rocking your 2-up saves. See you later. So good. You're going to be spending this CP a lot, and this really makes Terminators must take. Which Terminator or both Terminators? You can debate that probably for a long time. But yeah, like, just so good. Like, freaking bolter fire, aggressors, Riptide stupid burst cannon, cyclic ion blasters, smart missiles, heavy bolter spam, all this shit. -1, -2. It's like, so good. So good. Back to 2-up. Thank you very much. See you later. And it's for the whole phase, too. I think it's for the phase. I'll have to read it again. But I believe it's just the unit gets it for the whole phase. And so everything can shoot at it with this AP becomes AP 0. Like, so good. And I got to give shout out to GW. Credit where credit's due. A lot of our strats are like that. It's this unit gets this against everything that hits it this phase versus this unit gets this against this unit. So that would be way worse to just have it for the whole phase against everything that hits them. Makes our stratagems that much better. So man, oh man, this strat is good. This double fire, transhuman, like, oh yeah. Oh, I'm feeling it, guys. Are you guys feeling it? Oh, so good. Okay, and 1 CP too. Oh, so good. Okay. Whew. Okay, Emperor's Auspice for 2 CP. Okay. Enemy unit. So you choose a unit. Again, another stratagem where you pick one unit and it affects everything against them. I think, right? Yeah. It cannot reroll anything for that attack, for those attacks. Let that sink in for a while. First of all, you're probably like, what the fuck? Because you've never seen this before. This is the first time that this kind of mechanic has appeared in 40k in 8th. Turning off rerolls like that. And it's not only just turn off rerolls to hit, turn off rerolls to wound. It's turn off rerolls for the whole attack. No rerolling your number of shots. No rerolling your hits. No rerolling your wounds. No rerolling your damage rolls. That stuff is all out there, right? Freaking Grav rerolling damage. For the whole phase, for that unit, with ignore AP 1 and 2, and Transhuman. Fuck you, Doom. You can fuck off, Doom. I don't need to deny your ass anymore, because I'll just ignore it. It's like, oh, so good. So good. So good. It's like, oh. Man, oh man. There's a lot of like Salamander shit and Master Artisan shit, and like I rerolled this and rerolled this and rerolled this, and you can all go to hell. No rerolls. Don't touch that dice. AP 0 now. Screw you. Oh yeah, so good. So good. Chapter Master, go take a bath. Oh man. Okay, so good. 2 CP, it's steep, but man, it's going to save your bacon, I think. Now, you got to use it smart. Don't just use it on, like, reroll ones to hit on, like, a 3-up unit. I don't think it's worth the 2 CP then. But you use it for when it's going to matter. Reroll damage, grab unit, reroll to wound, like Doom, like full rerolls. I think you got to pick your spots to use your 2 CP wisely, especially since we don't have that much CP. But this strat could really break the enemy's attack. This strat is so good. So yeah. Okay. Next one, Fraternity of Heroes for 1 CP is basically the leaked, the previewed one on Warhammer with the heroic intervention. I think this is fine. I think it's actually good to have this as a strat now that you can use on specific units. They don't have to be within range of the Warlord trait. And now, because we have so good Warlord traits, you don't need to spend a Warlord trait on the heroic intervention trait. So I think having this CP in your back pocket is fine. Just don't forget to use it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Peter, go ask GW for 6 more CP. Do it. Raul Thomas, welcome. And yeah, we got set a new record in number of watchers, I believe. Okay, Slayers of Nightmares is the last strat for 2 CP. Your unit gets +1 to wound in the fight phase against a target with a higher toughness. So I think this is definitely nice. I mean, would it be nice to just get +1 to wound across whatever, because there are some armies with that as a freaking chapter tactic, but we'll take it. It's 2 CP as well, which is kind of steep for other armies. Just get it as a chapter tactic, but okay. And obviously you're going to be using this when you fight like knights, or if you're fighting like T7, T8. So this is really going to be good against knights. Now, if you're not using Aquilons, now you're wounding on 3s, which is nice with your axes. And I wonder if this actually stacks. I think it will stack with these spears +1 to wound. So actually now you're wounding on 3s again. So, but I think it's situationally useful, but 2 CP makes it a bit steep. It's obviously situational, but if you really need to, you could. At the end of the day, though, given what we just discussed, you could just bring Power Fisty Boys, the Aquilons, and now you wound on 3s, And if you really wanted to screw that knight, you could now wound on 2s. So there you go. But yeah, if this was 2 CP, but you could also do this in the shooting phase, then that would be sweet. But alas, it's not. So it might be just that little bit too steep and situational to be used all the time. But if you're in that situation and you got the CP, go for it. Okay. Good to have options. I'm not complaining. We all options we never had, right? This is a review. I'm not complaining. I'm not salty. As you can tell, I'm super hype. But, we have to make these comments. Okay. So, that is all the new strats. So I'm just going to summarize some things and some thoughts, crystallize it for you as best I can, because that's a lot of information. And then we're going to talk about sisters. We're 1 hour in, feeling good, got lots of water left. Okay, so just to tally it up for you now, and I think I got them all, the total amount, one of the things that we suffered with was against psychic heavy armies. A 6-up Funeral Pain against mortals in the psychic phase only going to take you so far, i.e. this far. So what do we have now for anti-psychers? Okay, number 1, 6-up Funeral Pain against mortal wounds in the psychic phase. Number 2, a deny power strat on a 4+, 3+ if you're a warden. Number 3, a psychic power that allows you to try and attempt to deny. Okay. Number 4, a warlord trait that turns your guy into a +1 deny person. Number 5, we can now take sisters with no penalty to our pureness. And they, of course, have Abomination Rule and a stackable -1 18-inch aura. And they have a 3+ deny strat. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways of messing with psychers. And we have kind of messed with some psychers through our ability to turn off rerolls, for example. We've stopped Doom, things like that. We've stopped Doom, Guide, or whichever one that gives them rerolls to hits. Like we've stopped those buffs that don't have anything to do with us because we disallow their rerolls. So we've got a lot of anti-psycher now. I don't see reasons to run Inquisitors anymore. We need those points. And we got so many ways of denying that we don't need that one deny. Hector Rex with his 3 denies, sure, but that's 100 points, guys. So, I'll just quickly say that I don't think that assassins are worth, 95 points. Not when we can have sisters for 50 points. So we're not going to talk about assassins tonight, but I just don't think they're worth it. Anyway, and I want to stay pure. I don't consider assassins as pure. So there we go. Okay, so we got like 6 or 7 good ways of messing with psychers now. Now, none of it's foolproof. So, 18-inch deny, we're going to talk about this when we talk about sisters, but 18-inch deny is like, okay, most people who play psychic heavy armies like Eldar, Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, if they're good players, they know how to play around 18-inch auras. That's their whole bag. So they're usually not going to put themselves in a place where they're going to be eating -1 auras. And yeah, anyway, we'll talk about that when we talk about sisters. But just wanted to point that out. We've got a bunch of different ways now of protection from psychics. Yeah. Okay. So what are the winners of this update? Okay. I don't think this is any particular order. These are the people I think won from this update. Number 1, Terminators. I think we already had maybe the best Terminators in the game, and we definitely do now. Our Terminators were already quite tough, very killy, and Alaris especially, super, super flexible, pile-in shenanigans, sniping options, anti-overwatch grenades, good strength, lots of good things for Alaris. And this update only made Terminators better. So now they can double shoot. So Aquilon double shooting, 48 shots. That's amazing. A big unit of Alaris double shooting their 2 damage bolters and their grenade, not the grenade launchers, but that's amazing. And they can snipe like like we already went over that on Thursday, but double shooting's great. Ignoring the AP makes them so much tougher. Turning off rerolls. +1 to wound against tougher targets. Transhuman. Auto wounding. Wow, it's just like the Terminators have really come out on top. And if you're going to play a footless, which you probably are, you're going to want to take at least one big unit of Terminators, if not two. The problem might be that you don't have enough strats to spend on all of them, but I think what you do is you bring your guys in on waves, or you foot one and you drop in another, or you may not need to do all the strats on every unit every time. And your opponent's not going to know what the hell to do. Like, do I shoot that guy? He's going to be like transhuman, AP, ignoring rerolls, AP0. Do I shoot that guy who's like hard enough to kill? Oh, I shot there. Now I got to shoot there, but that was my best. Like, it's going to make a target priority nightmare for your opponent. These two big, beefy, hard to kill units now coming at them. And I think this really now lends itself to a new style of play. We've already been told by GW that castling is not going to be a thing. It's not going to win you the mission. We need to play differently. Maybe we don't need to play the hide hammer that we used to play now that we actually got some toughness back. And so while it's not rules toughness, it's stratagem-based toughness, it's still toughness. So I think that Terminators really came out of this really well. And I'm going to go through my sample list after this, but yeah, I think Terminators. These little mofos, oh yeah. And then these little guys, oh yeah. There we go. Okay, so Terminators. Now, the caveat, obviously, is these guys could go up in points. I mean, we think everything's going to go up in points in 9th, but Forge World Book could go up in points, and these guys are already pretty expensive. So, I think that's the only caveat that kind of keeps our emotions down a little bit, is points are going to go up. But, yeah, Terminators are winners. Okay. The loss of Killmore as a thing, because we're not playing ITC anymore. That means Unleash the Lions may have some really nice uses now for 2 CP, and you don't feel so bad playing that 2 CP now that you have more CP. So that's another thing for the Alaris. I mean, they were already edging into one of our best units, and now this update only makes them better. So there we go. People are thinking multiple small units versus large units. I think you just got to run large units because you need that CP efficiency. It just playing small units is not going to be efficient for your CP, and it's just not going to work. And your other small unit is going to bite it. So I think we end up playing, large hammer units. I don't think the blast rule is really going to be that big a deal for us. We're not getting 11 up, so I don't think it's going to be as big an impact on us as it might be on some armies. So yeah. Okay. The next winners, Deep Strikers. So with Dread Host, anything that Deep Strikes is winning. We still have the best Deep Strike stratagem in the game, which is the Homer. And we now have the ability to 3d6 charge from Deep Strike with the Dread Host strat. And so I think Deep Strikers are winning. Dreadnoughts, Bikes, Wardens, and then obviously our other stuff that automatically Deep Strikes. So I think these people all win from a more reliable charge out of Deep Strike. And with the extra CP or the ability to reroll charges now, Oracle Aquila and the Dreadnought Stratagem, these are all reroll charges that make these things much more reliable. So I think Deep Strikers are winners in this. And that brings us to the Telamon. The Telamon is back, at least until Forge World nerfs the points again. But hopefully not. I've had it on some small authority that its points are going up, but everybody's points are going up, so hopefully it won't go up any more than anyone else's. But for now, you can revel in the coolness and awesomeness of the Telamon. He is back from the garbage bin. Okay, and I feel like this is probably the most flexible loadout here. The Storm Cannon and One Fist. And so Now with the Telamon being not suffering from heavy, you should take a gun. It can shoot in combat, so you definitely want to be able to kill things in combat, so you need a fist. And that's basically it. And you can it's not a blast weapon, so you can shoot the storm cannon in combat too. And so this dude now also with +1 attack, reroll charges, so now he's 5 attacks. And if there's a +1 attack banner, that's 6 attacks. And exploding 6s, and hitting on 2s, of course, rerolling 1s, and he's doing 4 freaking damage. People are gonna cry. And then if you're stuck in combat, double shoot your Spiculous, clear the shit out, shoot your storm cannon, punch some stuff, plasma flamer on the fist, and then go to work. Like, wow. It's like the Telamon has really come back with the edition change as well as our book. So yeah, really good. So the only bad thing, I think it doesn't get the +1 attack. The only bad thing about it will be if the points get really nerfed versus just same as everyone else. So we'll see. I can't think about that. It's gonna ruin my day. So it's like Telamon is back, baby. I think you just play with the Telamon now while you can. Just do it. Just do it. Do it on all your tabletop sims. Like, just do it. Do it while you can. Okay, what else did I miss about the Telamon? Yeah, and it's tough, right? So it's like lots of wounds, T8, 2+, 4-up, 6-up, feel no pain. Option to make it 5-up, feel no pain against mortals. Half damage. It's like, it moves 8 inches. Man, it's like, yeah. And don't forget the strat that lets you give him a reroll 1 to himself and a 6-inch aura, so he becomes a shield captain for a phase. That's really useful strat, especially if he's kind of going off on his own somewhere. It can be really useful. So, like, don't forget that strat. It's a great little strat from the Codex. Don't forget that strat. So, yeah. I mean, Telamon, man. Shout out to Big Bertha. Boom. Okay. Boom. Been waiting all night to talk about the Telamon. Okay. Captains. Captains are winners. Those traits are all good. At least half of them are good. The captains are winners. Foot captains, Alaris captains, shield captains on bikes. Damn, I wish we could take more traits, but even just one trait is good. And all the traits are useful, and I suspect we're going to be doing the regen trait, as we said before, but man, it's good. A 3 damage axe, yeah. Captains really got buffed as they should be, and I think captains have come out as winners in this book. Okay. Maybe stealth buff Forge World? I mean, we just talked about the Telamon. The Achilles also got better with all the same stuff that the Telamon got. The Galactus is still pretty crappy, so definitely not the top in the top of those 3 dreads. Venatari secretly got better. Caladius tanks got auto-explode, like Mechless got a bit better. If you want to run the Agamatis, they don't get they're hitting on 2s again if you really want to spend 120 points for a bike model. But there was a lot in here that buffed the Forge World units. So against what we thought was going to happen, a lot of Forge World got better. So we really just got to wait for that Forge World book for the rewrites, if anything changes, and also for the points. But it's looking good for Forge World right now. So yeah, Forge World definitely got stealth buff, and obviously the Aquilon Terminators. So good. Okay. Losers. Okay. I feel like, so the bikes got better. Yes, they got transhuman. They got the +1 to wound strat. They got a bunch of stuff. But it just seemed like they didn't get as much or any special attention. There was no strat specifically for bikes. And bikes just never get changed. They've been the same since the book came out. 90 points, same bike, never been changed. And again, never changed. And so I think you got to really think hard to spend that 90 points on a bike now. And with more terrain and still having to go around things, I think they're still going to have the same issues that bikes have in 8th. And so I just think that they fall behind the Terminators now. So I think they got better for sure because our whole book got better, but they didn't get super better. And I think that probably GW did that on purpose. I mean, they've had so many opportunities to change bikes along the last 2.5 years in points changes or rules changes. They've had many opportunities and they never have touched bikes. So it's not surprising that they didn't directly touch bikes with this book. So I think bikes are a relative loser in this book. Relics. I think the relics are losers. Other than the 3D axe, all the other relics are not going to replace your 3-up invuln 2 relic choices. So I think the relics are the losers. And there it is. Shield host rules. So I'm going to put this here as a loss because people were expecting we would get shield hosts or something other equivalent. And that then we would get an army rule for that shield host. And we didn't get that. We just got the strat, the relic, and the warlord trait. And so I put that down as a relative loss. But the shield hosts are really good. So it's kind of a relative loss. But I think we got enough to not really make it like a full-on loss. Okay. Guardians, I feel like, are in the same situation as bikes. They didn't get anything specific for Guardians, but they obviously got better because of things like transhuman and all that sort of thing. But they're not Terminators, so they're kind of like in the same situation as Wardens. They're the relative loser by not getting as much nice stuff. But I think we're still going to need Guardians. We're still going to need units to hold things that are tough. We're still going to need guys to do actions. And unless you're going to take Sisters, your Guardians are your action guys. So I think we're still going to be investing in Guardians. But I think if we can help it, we're not going to be running battalions anymore. So I think Guardians are the relative losers. Wardens, same thing. Again, the Terminators just outpaced them. They were already barely neck and neck with like Alaris, if you could really make that argument at all. And now they got the 3+ deny strat. That's all they got. And so Wardens have fallen down. You're taking Terminators instead. There's almost no reason to take Wardens now, I gotta say. That like Miz recorded and is gonna cut it. And finally, D3 damage. The big loser, D3 damage. D3 damage is still everywhere. Everything is still freaking D3 damage. But our offense got buffed in general in shooting and combat. So hopefully that will lessen the blow of D3 damage. But yeah, that when I saw the strat for the Melta rule, I was thinking, God, that should have been the D3 damage strat. So there's a real loser there, D3 damage. D3 damage is a loser. Okay. Now I'm going to put this down as the last thing of here, winners and losers, CP. CP for us is a winner and a loser. We have won because we got more CP. We got 12 CP. We don't have to run a battalion to get that. And we got a CP a turn. And so we got loads more CP. But the loser side of that is our strength is in our CP, it's in our strats, and we need a lot of CP. As we already discussed, so we have 12 CP to start. What are you going to spend it on? You might be spending CP for a Vanguard. You might 1 to 3 maybe, 1 to 2. You're spending CP for a Commander trait. You're spending CP for extra Warlord trait, CP for an extra Relic, CP to Deep Strike a Telamon, CP to buff the Telamon. That's already 6 CP. Down to 6 already to start. So that's a lot of CP. So if you thought that we're going to have quite a lot of CP, we do, but we need it. We need more than we have probably. The book really right now is not even playable with the 8th edition amount of CP that we start with now, 8 or 9. Literally, you'll have 2 CP left if you buy all those things right now, like an 8th. So we need CP, and so I think it's going to be a thing. as I said before, we're going to have to spend our commander trait on the regen, which will give us 3 to 5 CP throughout the game. We're going to we may have to take Trajan to get that 1 to 3 CP back from a Homer, or 2 CP back from a Transhumer or something. Like that's potentially an extra, 3, 4 to 7 CP on the game. It's just, we're just burning through so much CP. We need it. Now, the other winner side is that drip CP at the beginning of every turn is going to make sure we have 1 or 2 CP at the last turn of the game when you need to Tanglefoot someone. Remember, we still got Tanglefoot when you need to do a interrupt, or that's super important that we get that at the end of the game. But yeah. And so Peter brings up no fight choice strat as they lose. To be honest, we don't have the CP for it. If that's 2 CP, 3 CP, we don't have the CP to do that. And hopefully we're just going to kill everything in the first time. We don't have to fight again. So I'm not feeling that loss too much, but we need CP. And so I think we're going to have to see how it plays out. But I think we're going to need the Warlord trait, and I think we're going to need Trajan still. We'll see. Get out there and start playing. We got to see what we need to do. But yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the winner and the loser of our book is CP. Yay, CP, but we need CP. So, yeah. Okay. Overall thoughts. So, overall, obviously, this is a great book. It is a great book. I think it is more, I can certainly tell you from talking in the Custodes chat a lot, it is more than we expected we were going to get. We all wanted a whole laundry list of things, but we secretly thought that we weren't going to get them. And then the emotions of seeing Death Guard first and Fabius Bile first, and we thought we were going to be the smaller section of the book. But damn, if we got stuff. It is a good time to be a Custodes player. And for people who want to know, I will be making t-shirts that have a Custodes symbol here, a CanHammer symbol here, and on the back is going to say, played Custodes when they were bad. So if you want one of those shirts, let me know. But because there's going to be a lot of bandwagoning. But I think this is a great book. And I think GW really did a great job with this. Very fluffy, thematic, and filled a lot of our gaps. We needed to hit harder, and now we do, both shooting and fighting. We needed to be tougher, and we are certainly tougher, especially our Terminators. We needed more anti-psyker, and we have anti-psyker. Even without sisters, but definitely with the sisters now. We needed to be more reliable in how we got into combat, and we definitely got that plugged. So in a lot of ways, we've had many of our weaknesses plugged, which is great, which is super good. So in terms of competitive units now, I would say you can make a case for almost most of the commonly used units in our codex would be competitive in any given list. Trajan and a captain is probably still the standard 2 HQs. And which captain you choose is up to you. I still think Shield Captain on a bike is the best, but the 3 damage axe on an Alaris captain is certainly tempting. I still think we need Trajan. He's still a workhorse. He gets his 3+ invuln automatically, and he gives us that D3 CP back. So I still think we need him, but yeah. We still need a Vexilla. -1 or +1 attack is really up in the air right now. We really need to see how the hit modifiers are going to roll out with 9th. But I think -1 is still valuable. And the +1 attack is obviously good. So I think the Vexilla is still a unit that we're going to be running in every list. And he's a good carrier for a Warlord trait and a good carrier for a Relic. So I think the Vexilla is still an auto take in our list. And obviously he's our Homer beacon. We need that Homer. So, so Vexilla is still auto take and still a good unit. Okay. I don't think Guardian spam, I don't think we need to do that anymore. 30 Storm Shield Guardians. I think If we are allowed to with the detachments, we still have to see that, 1 unit of Guardians with all shields would be a nice unit. They are very tough. They can do actions. They can hold midfield for you. And with 2 hard-to-kill Terminator units pulping their way forward, your opponent's not going to spend a lot of time attacking those 5 shield dudes who aren't doing very much. So yeah, and I just found out yesterday, I remember reading the Sentinel Blade shooting in your opponent's shooting phase stratagem for 2 CP. It's expensive, but I totally forgot about that stratagem. But anyway, so I think a single unit of Guardians with shields is still a compelling take in order to hold stuff, do actions, and stuff like that for you. Hammers. So I think all our hammer units are extremely competitive now. Aquilon, Alaris, even bikes, Wardens less so, but the Terminators, especially as hammers, I think it's out of the park with this book. And being infantry, that's going to be so important with terrain heavy and getting benefits of terrain. Infantry is going to be the king, and so I think that really puts the Terminators in front of bikes. So yeah. Okay, the Telamon. Telamon is super good right now. So use it while you can until it gets nerfed. We all have trauma and PTSD from the Telamon getting triple nerfed the first time. So while it's good, use it. I think the Telamon is still our best dreadnought. The Achilles is a lot cheaper, but just not going to do as much. But it's a good option if you're tight on points. But man, that Telamon is just so good. The Galactus still kind of sucks. But yeah, I think you're running an Achilles instead of a Galactus. So there you go. Okay. Mech lists, I think, have not changed that much. They got a few useful strats that helped them out. They're still a pretty hard, accurate shooting list that will table some people. You may have problems with mech list and the terrain rules that have made it more difficult for line of sight and things like that. So I think mech lists maybe suffer a little bit from the edition change, but certainly didn't get any worse from our book. But I think now with the boost to the non-mech side of our units, I think mech lists are gonna not be as common. Okay. So that is the Custodes part of the book. Okay, we're an hour and a half. We're going to talk about Sisters for half an hour and finish, okay? Super long stream. I'm sorry about that, but there's a lot to talk about and 9 pages of notes, and I want it to be as comprehensive as possible. So, okay. So the Talons of the Emperor rule means that we can take units of Sisters in our army and not fuck anything up. So we don't lose any rules. They don't gain any rules. It's all pretty straightforward. Now, it doesn't fix Leia and Christopher Walken. They're still fucked up. As far as we know, there's no reprinted data sheets in the book. I did not think that they would do that because they have this little leaflet wherever it is. I have it somewhere. And so they're still fucked up. They still have the wrong keywords. They still have to be taken as a unit. So, and it's just messed up. And so we were thinking today that probably they're going to do a day 0 FAQ because I've known about this problem for a few months. But obviously the book was printed before they knew they had the problem. So hopefully it's going to be a day 0 FAQ. They're probably going to FAQ Christopher Walken and Leia, and they're going to FAQ the double, the half damage Dreadnought strat to -1 damage. So probably that's what's going to happen, and they may FAQ the stupid Castellan protected by shield captain thing. Anyway, but I think this will be a day 0 FAQ for Christopher Walken and girlfriend. But they also need to FAQ the fact that they're 366 points. Saying that, I think Leia, if we are able to take her for, oh God, we can't just take her either because we got to take Christopher Walken. It just doesn't work, even if it's 180 points for both. Just not worth it. So I don't think those two guys are making it into any competitive lists. But anyway, So Sisters retain their reroll wounds against Psychers for all their attacks. And they retain their Psychic Abomination rules, which is the -1 18-inch aura stacking up to -4, and they can't be targeted. So they still maintain their inherent psychic protection. Nothing new in the data sheets that I could see. There's still 3+ save, T3 girls with 1 wound, normal bolters with no extra rules, normal 8-inch flamers with no extra rules, strength 5, AP3, D3 swords at a weapon skill of 3. Like freaking Fabia's Bile has a better weapon skill than these girls who are supposed to be swords champions of the universe, right? Like if you read the books with the sisters are like dancing all over the place and they're like slicing people in half, and yeah, so it certainly doesn't feel like that when your weapon skill is 3. Anyway, Blast is going to have a field day with these girls in units greater than 5. And it seems like to really get your worth, you need to have like large units of them. So yeah, I don't know. Unimpressed. I know some people are very adamant about sisters. I just feel unimpressed so far. Okay. So, so what you're trying to do is maybe you take 1 or 2 units of sisters. They can be your action people. They can stand on objectives, and they may be able to do some denying and, minus psychic stuff. But the problem is, so fine, they can do actions, they can stand on objectives. They're easy to kill. Like a single, like out of line of sight shooting Thunderfire probably takes out your whole unit. Like they're just easy to kill and they're not very sturdy. You could take, if you wanted to take a Leia, now you have character protection, but it's only 1 person then. So it's like, it just doesn't seem that good, but they are only 50 points. We often have 50 points left over in our list. So like my current list has, a unit of sisters just because I have 50 points and nothing else to do with it. And so maybe taking base units of Bolter Sisters is good because they're only 50 points. And, that's not if you lose that and there's no kill more, that's probably not a big deal. So I give you that it is a cheap chaff choice for us so that we can do actions, hold things. And then if they happen to do some psychic stuff, then that's bonus. I feel like that's a bonus. As I said before, anybody who's worth their skill playing a psychic-heavy army will not fall into your 18-inch auras. Just doesn't happen. They know these things. They know 18 inches is the magic number. All their spells are 18. Like, it just won't happen that you're going to be able to stack -3 on a psyker who just didn't know that they were within 18. Like, that's just a bad player. They deserve to lose. So I think actually their psychic stuff is like bonus. And really, we were going to be taking them for cheap objective holders and action bitches. Action bitch! Action bitch! Okay. So, their stratagems. So, they didn't get any special rules other than that. The stratagems. So, Empiric Severance for 1 CP. This was previewed on Warhammer Community. So, this lets you deny. This lets you stop a psychic power after a deny attempt on a 3+. So, this is actually the best deny stratagem in the game. And so that's cool to have that, 3+ deny after an attempt, 1 CP, it's the best deny strat in the game. The only thing that works better is like Deathwing Warlord trait that 1 time per game can deny anything. There's no range or anything like that's cool, but that's only 1 time a game. But yeah. Okay. The next stratagem is called Talons. For a CP, after a Custodes unit shoots or fights, a Sisters unit within 6 inches of that Custodes unit gets to reroll hits. So full reroll. It's the only full reroll in our book. And it's the requisite cross-faction strat. Custodes and Sisters helping each other out. As such, it's pretty lackluster. I mean, it's nice to have full rerolls, but what are you full rerolling? 5 bolters? 5 8-inch normal flamers? 5 sword attacks, maybe. That has some merit to it for sure. Now that they're strength 5, -3, D3. There's that D3 again. So for sure, I think swords will have the most impact. But yeah. Okay. Punishment Fire. So for 1 CP, it turns their bolters into 18-inch assault 3. If you have a unit of 10 bolter girls, now they're shooting 30 shots. So that's cool. 30 shots is pretty cool. And of course, you can combo it with the previous stratagem, so now they can reroll their hits on those 30 shots. So, you know, that's pretty cool. So, of course, the problem is that they're still just normal bolters, and, you know, 30 shots will kill a bunch of things. But our army also has 48 of this shot and a whole bunch of 2 damage bolters and lots of other things that do similar things to 30, hitting on 3s, you know, bolters, normal bolter, no AP shots. So, yeah. So I think it's situational at best. Yes, they can shoot psychers and reroll wounds and stuff like that, but again, you know, you have to have, like, you know, stuff like that. Okay. You know, these are all pretty cheap stratagems, though, but as we already discussed, we got a lot of things to spend CP on. So do you want to spend your CP on Sisters, or do you want to spend your CP on Custodes? I guess it just depends on what you want from your army, but it seems like a tough competition for CP. Okay, the next one is Desperation's Price for 1 CP. Unit within 18 inches of Sisters unit that perils takes D3 mortals. So that's cool. I mean, punishing a perils is always good, and if you're taking 2 D3 mortals, that psyker may die, so that's pretty good. It's that 18-inch range again, but if you have it and you're able to do it, then, you know, that's an option for you. Creeping Dread for 1 CP, -1 to hit for enemy unit within 6 inches of Sisters infantry unit. Sure, that's fine. We have a Vex too, and your Sisters have to be within 6 inches of them. So, okay. I mean, it's kind of okay. Decapitating Strikes for 1 CP. I think they've had this before. +1 to wound for the phase for the Sword Girls. So that's really nice because they're strength 5. So they're going to be wounding even T8 on force. So that's pretty nice. It's for 1 CP. You know, it's their +1 wound strat. Makes me wish that we had the +1 wound strat as well. But, you know, if you're running a unit of girls, like 10 girls, that's like 20 attacks, like 23 attacks or something. That's pretty nice. So so there we go. Purgation Sweep was previewed. It's that Flamer strat. So a unit of 5 girls for 1 CP, unit of 6 or more for 2 CP. Your Flamer gets 4 hits min. And so that's okay. So let's say if you want to max that out and make a Flamer bomb, so 10 girls, that's like at least 40 Flamer hits. Probably more than that, but let's say, you know, 45 Flamer hits. And that's all fine, but if you're dropping them in, it's 8 inches, they're not in range. If you're walking them up, they're T3 girls, get mowed down. And that's 2 CP. It just does not seem worth 2 CP in the context of everything else we've been talking about tonight. And then Flamer girls are more expensive, and 10 of them, and it's like ends up being a lot of investment for a bunch of 0 AP Flamers. And we already have a lot of other Horde clearance. So I just don't think it fills a gap that we need. Immaterial Dissonance for 1 CP. Concussion Grenade, basically, against Psychers and Demons. So that Psyker and Demon get -1 to hit, and they can't Overwatch. So that might be fun. Throw Psych Out grenades at, you know, Grey Knights or Thousand Suns, or, you know, Demon Prince or Magnus or something. I mean, sure. I mean, so, you know, it's okay. You know, Psychic Grenades kind of suck anyway, but yeah, it's okay. So overall, I think that, you know, Sisters do fill a bit of a gap, but I feel like the gap they really fill is the holding objectives action gap. Not really an offense gap, and they have a bonus of possibly some anti-psyker support, of which we already gained a lot too. So I think they do mesh well. I don't think you're running. I don't think you're getting like a whole. I don't think you're running like 15 or more Sisters. Personally, I don't think you're running a whole detachment of them. But I don't think it's mandatory to take Sisters. I think if you have the points left over, instead of buying a bunch of Misericordia, a Sisters unit is a better buy. I think that the best way is probably a big unit of swords for melee, or base units of bolter girls for actions and objectives. I just don't see the other stuff being great, and with as we already discussed with our competition for CP usage and all of our great strats, I don't think you're going to be spending a lot of CP on the sisters. So I just think that they do fill a gap, and I think we do want to take like a unit. I just don't think you're taking a whole bunch of units. There's people complain to GW that why can't we have a whole book of just sisters? And I'm like, come on, guys, it's like 3 units, like in a rhino. So I just don't think that that's a thing, and people being a bit unreasonable. But yeah, okay. So if we're talking about a list I'm working on right now, is trying to combine all the best things of all of these things. It is pinned on the Discord. And it's not an exact list, it's just an idea, but basically, and it really relies on how much the Vanguard is going to cost. But I'm thinking a patrol with a Vanguard, and you're going to run you're going to run Trajan, Shield Captain on bike, Vexilla, and a unit of 5 or 6 Guardians, all with shields, 7 Alaris Terminators, 5 Aquilon Terminators, and a unit of Bolter Sisters, and that's around 2,000. And so you're looking for Dread Host for your hammers and Solar Watch for the Guardians, and then the Sisters. And that's a nice list. It's not too dissimilar from what we used to run, but now we can run that patrol without losing all the CP, and we can cut down on our tax, our Guardian tax, but still have Guardians. We can make use of some of the Sisters' abilities, and we can definitely make use of all the new toys that we have. So that's kind of just a list idea I have percolating through my head. We really need to find out how much Vanguards are going to cost. If anybody out there can find out, please let us know. This is key information that we are missing. And all of our list discussions completely change if Vanguards are expensive. So we really need to know that. So if anybody knows that, please let us know. Okay, we're on the final run in the last 15 minutes for questions. We're definitely not running Sagittarium because they cannot double shoot, and they're still as sucky as they used to be. As I said, I think we're still running like a unit of Custodian Guards with shields. Okay, I'm going to the Discord. If you're in the chat and you have questions, please post. I'm going to the Discord for questions right now, and we'll mix them all in. Okay, there's a lot of questions. I probably answered most of them. Okay. Okay, first question. Has the Emperor blessed us? Yes. Second question. Spears or axes on Wardens? Neither. Don't take Wardens. Alaris, axes. I don't really see any reason to take spears. Just spending another CP just to give it up that +1 wound. I think you just take axes and then use the +1 wound on the axe if you really need to. But I think you just take axes. Plus, everything has axes on it, and I ain't replacing it with spears. Okay. Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment, strongest update, worst thing. Okay, so I covered all of those things. Nick Fortress, I say axes. Okay. Do you see Venatari having a role? I think that, again, will depend on the Forge World update. But I think right now, Venataris definitely have a role in fast attack. I think they've overtaken bikes in that role because of fly infantry. Okay, fly infantry is king. It's like the best of both worlds, and bikes just don't have that. And 12-inch versus 14-inch movement, not a big deal, and double shooting those pistols is damn good. I think the 3-up is not as big a deal because everything got -1, -2 AP, and they don't have the ignore strat for them, so I think it doesn't matter. And I think you just run them because they're fly infantry and the pistols are good. They're still going to suck in combat like they always have, and that's unfortunate. But they can always try and survive and then leave that combat and shoot. So, because of fly. So, I think they're definitely got a leg up on bikes right now, and just because they're so much cheaper. Bikes are still so expensive. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think that answers that question. Bike Melta Spam with the D6 strat. So you could, run 5 bikes with 5 salvo launchers. That's 400, almost 500 points. And sure, they're all hitting on 2s now. And with an extra CP expenditure, now you get more reliable melta damage. But goddamn, that's a quarter of your army that can't go through ruins and have to spend a CP to deep strike. And like, it's just a lot. And they don't ignore AP like Terminators. And it's just a lot, you know? Yeah, it's just like, yeah, we'll see if it just doesn't seem as good. It just seems like a lot of points still. But they're obviously going to do damage. Like, bikes have always done damage. There's nobody arguing that bikes don't do damage, but I think it's just more to the foot troops now than bikes. And even with the Melta hitting on 2s now, and with that strat, it may not balance it yet. I think if you took that and you do a bike army or a big bike unit and you play lots of people who have vehicle, like if you play in a vehicle heavy meta, which some people think is going to be, then maybe we're all going to be in 4 weeks time running units of bikes with salvos, because there's so many vehicles out there. We just need that mobility and the Melta to take things down. Like if you want to one shot a Baneblade, then 5 bikes with 5 Meltas might do it for you. But until we see that, we don't know. So for now, I'm going to say it's not on my list. But as I always say, when new rules and new points come out, and new additions especially, you got to relook at everything. And so that's what we've been doing, is relooking at everything. Okay, Aquilons or Alaris. I think that's just the same argument as always had. But I think the Alaris always inch ahead in versatility. And actually, I think because of 2 damage on the bolters versus more shots but less damage on the Aquilon, I think the Alaris still inch ahead, because 2 damage is so good for things like intercessors, stuff like that. So I think Alaris still inch ahead just a little bit, but Aquilon are certainly there, because now a unit of beefy boys is going to be very hard to take down, and that strength 10 is super nice. And as I said on Thursday, there's literally no reason to take Flamers now. Cut them all off. Especially for like 10 points extra, or 15 points or whatever. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, so literally no. So yeah, so I think Alar's still doing, but they're just, all the Terminators are super good. How many Dreadnoughts is enough Dreadnoughts? Just 1 Bertha, baby. Still too many points to run more than 1, unless you're gonna run, that's just like a fun list. Maybe it'd fit in a Achilles as well, because it's only 140 points. But there's opportunity cost to running more than 1 Dread, right? And you're gonna have to spend CP to deep strike it, and so and more CP to Dread host them. So I think you just bring 1. So choose, you want the Telamon, or for points purposes you want the Achilles if you're gonna bring a Dread. Okay. What is the best style list for the known hosts? Well, I just put my list out there and it's pinned, so you can check it out. I think that works well. With the new rules, where are we going to draw the line between battalion and the 450 troop tax for paying for CP Vanguard? I think that really just depends on how much the Vanguard costs. Literally, that decision depends on the Vanguard. If the Vanguard is 3 CP, we're going to be in a tough spot. We're definitely going to be in a tough spot. Yeah, definitely going to be in a tough spot. Okay, Marines don't get any less deadly. Will these new killing tools help us? I think so, for sure. I mean, I don't think I had, other than the stupid Iron Sands list, I don't think I had that much trouble killing Marines, just they kill you so fast. And this definitely makes them less killy with the Ignore AP, and the Transhuman. So for sure. I think it's definitely even the playing field a little bit against most Marine lists, other than the stupid Iron Hands shit. Okay. What's the number of viable units list gone from and to? I don't know, but everything's gone up. Okay. Aside from Aquilons and another Telamon, is there anything else that may be useful to buy when Forge World reopens? Good question. You might want to invest in some Venatari. And Aquilons, Telamon. Yeah, I think that's about it. You probably want to wait, though, until the 4-drawer books comes out. I would. You're so close now, just wait. And you can't even buy it right now anyway, so just wait. This Tactica's on my birthday. Happy birthday, El Lurkador. Happy birthday, El Lurkador. He wants a shout out. Oh, brackets, please don't. Oh. Oh. I mean... Okay, there we go. If you had $200 Canadian, what unit would you invest in right now? Well, it depends on what you have, obviously. Depends on what you have. If you don't have a large Terminators, you have $200, buy a couple of boxes of a large Terminators. 3 boxes. Okay, what do the new rules mean for bikes and bikes list? We talked about that already. $200. We see a trend of melee being ramped up. Will shooting take a back seat this edition? I don't think shooting will take a back seat. I think shooting is going to be as good as it ever was, but I think just melee gotten better, getting up towards equal footing. Okay, with the new Awakening book strat, okay, never mind. Rade making Morty jokes again. Spartacus, will it be recorded? Yes, it will. How do you tell people that we played Custodes before they were top tier? You buy one of the t-shirts that I'm going to have made. There you go, only available to Discord members. Okay, how much CP do we need? Well, we talked about that. You're going to need a lot. Okay, which is best if you can only take one? Venatari or Alaris or Aquilon? Different. I don't think you can compare Venatari to the Terminators. Different purposes. And we already talked about Alaris versus Aquilon. Tacos versus sushi. Sushi. I'm not a big fan of Mexican food. Sorry, Chris. Looking to hear your thoughts on how the leaks and reveals affect some of the standard 2,000 point builds. Yeah, and he wants a possible list you could try and optimize. Yep, look on the pins as already said. Chris, which shield host do you think was the real winner? So, Dread. After sleeping on it, feel like Emissaris could potentially be strong. I think so. I think there's Emissaris and Solar Watch maybe the top, like next to Dread. But I think Dread just plays right into all the things that we want to naturally do and helps those things. Okay, Shredder, do we see Mech Custodes list ever coming back? As I said, I don't think Mech got any worse. Definitely not. I think the edition change may affect Mech more than anything else, but from what I hear, mech is going to be huge, but then lots of people are going to be bringing anti-mech, and our mech didn't get any tougher, other than Dreadnought, but I mean like the tanks. So I don't think that, I don't think there's going to be a huge surge of mech, and I think Foot's gotten that much better. Ember Faith, you did miss most of the show, but as always, you can rewatch it on Twitch and on YouTube. How do we think Sisters will be brought in? We already talked about that. Large squads and a Rhino. I think spending another 100 points on a shitty Rhino is really not good. So I think you're just bringing Sisters by themselves. The Sister Signs get enough support to bring them in large numbers, 30 plus with 3 Rhinos. No. Can I get 2 tickets for the hype train? Tickets are free, baby. One more question. Every army getting a point increase, how much room are we going to lose in our list building? I don't think we can answer that. I think you just have to wait and see what happens to the points, 4-draw points. It's really, who knows? Who knows? With our increase in strats making a newfound tidal wave of CP a puddle again. I like that analogy. It's very graphic. It's like you start pissing and it's like a strong stream and then it ends up like a little dribble. That wasn't a good analogy. How will this relate to other CP-hungry armies being starved? Will this create a reduction of OP strat combos that would hurt us, being able to counter with our defensive strats, and then leave us relying on our baseline? That's a good question. So I think, what always happens in a game is whoever runs out of CP first with the newer armies, they then go back to just rules, and depending on how good their rules are, that's the person that wins when everybody's out of CP. And there are some armies that are very front-loaded on CP and some that are sort of mid or end game. And I think one thing Ninth will do was smooth that out a little bit with the 1 CP every turn. Okay, that will definitely smooth out. Last turn, you're always going to have 1 CP. And if you save it up, you can get 2 or 3 CP for that last turn. So I think that's going to big influence on CP expenditure over time for all armies. And then if we're going down to a point where nobody has any CP, we are still a strong book. The only reason we started dying was rules, so Marines, mostly. Eldar always have good rules because of psychic powers. And we start dying because of strats. And so in the absence of strats, we're still pretty tough army, and we're still pretty killy. We needed these strats to make us up there, but if the other side has also no CP, it evens out a little bit, and maybe we are still more a longevity army. We want to be around in the 5th and 6th turns. A lot of the times, if it's not a blowout, we have more models left at the end of the game. So I think in those situations, we're going to be better, but the CP is smoothed out a little bit because of that. You don't underestimate the drip effect of 1 CP a turn gain. That's huge, especially if you don't need it in a turn, you can save it up, right? As Jim Jeffries says, you're a good little saver. Keep going. That's my horrible Australian accent. Okay. With CP and strats being at a premium, does it make sense that units mutually exclusive as they compete for same strats? So I think there may be some competition, but generally I don't think you're going to be you want to use every strat on every single thing. You're going to be causing some target priority decisions, and that can help influence your decisions. So I think there may be some competition, and none of us knows because none of us have played it, but I think it will probably work out, and then you'll run out of CP. Okay, what's the minimum number of Terminators? Okay, that's a great question. So my current list, I run just 5 Aquilon. I think 6 is obviously great, but I think 5 is sufficient at their expense, and at the expense of other things, I think 5 is sufficient. 4 is probably okay, but then they stop being as tempting a target for double shoot, which is probably fine if you're running a big Alaris unit. So 4 to 6 for Aquilon. For Alaris, I'm going to say you got to go big, and I'm going to go 7, just because I don't want to paint any more Alaris Terminators. I have 7 painted, but I mean, you could go up even higher, but you got to remember footprint gets tough when you're getting higher, and we still suffer from morale. Yay! But you want the CP efficiency for Alaris, especially because they have so many strats. They already did before, and now they got extra strats. So you definitely want CP efficiency. I don't see yourself unleashing until it's really necessary later in the game. You want CP efficiency for sniping. If you have a big unit of 7-8 guys and you sniper strat, and then you're doing double shoot, now you're picking off like 3 or 4 characters potentially. So I think you definitely want to stick to maybe 6 or 7. And then footprint is a problem when you're trying to homer. If there's going to be so much more terrain, smaller board, it may be a problem. So I think, 6 or 7 is a nice number for Alaris, and 4 to 6 for Aquilon. Remember, the Aquilon freaking bases are massive too, right? So you definitely can't run too many Aquilon. You won't be able to fit those mothers in. Custodian slots in the new book. No, they are not. See Farsight. Are we still going to be Inquisitor friendly? I don't really see a lot of reason to run an Inquisitor anymore. I gotta tell you. I could use that 55 points now for a Sisters unit, which probably gives me more psychic defense than a base Inquisitor. And if you're going to run an Inquisitor like Rex for 100 points, now that's getting expensive. That's 2 Sisters units. So I don't see a huge thing. CP regen power, but you still need to target and get a power off and stuff for that CP regen to happen versus just the trait or whatever. So I think that's a gimmick that's not worth doing. So I think Inquisitor, the reasons to take an Inquisitor has fallen off, although you could still bring an Inquisitor because often you have 55 points left. But I think maybe bringing a Sisters unit is better now. We didn't talk about it much, but assassins. So we can run an assassin now. What you do now is you pay for an assassin 95 points. He's in your list, and then you can spend 2 CP to switch it to a different assassin. So it doesn't really matter what you pick because they're all 95 points. But whatever, pick one, and then you spend 2 CP to switch it. But that really sucks, right? You still have to spend 2 CP some of the time, And as I already discussed, that will take you down to 4 CP. And like, okay, so Vindicare is still Vindicare, and occasionally you might get a CP refunded for that strat, but it's really not that reliable. I don't think the Eversur does anything that we can't do. The Calidus is situational at best, and the Calexis is still as bad as it always was. So, and we definitely don't need Calexis now that we have Sisters. So I think that the Assassin's also probably not compelling to put in our list anymore. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? My voice is going. It's been just over 2 hours. I hope people have found this run-through insightful and comprehensive. Do give me feedback. Message me or join the Custodes Discord. Discord link is right there. It should work. And maybe one of the guys in Twitch can throw it up just at the last minute here. But do join. We've had so many people joining over the last 36 hours. But do join. It's constant 24-hour Custodes talk. It's crazy. You won't find anything quite like it on the internet. You won't find anything quite like this channel on the internet. We have the most online Custodes content anywhere, going all the way back to when the book was released. Bat reps, tactics episodes, all sorts of stuff. So coming up next, so this week coming up, there won't be another Tactica because I just spent 2 hours doing it now. We'll have a cast on Wednesday just to talk about more 9th ed stuff with Chris. And then probably the week after I might take a 1 week break off because I have a bunch of meetings and stuff. On the 22nd, I was going to spend all afternoon running through the new book when I had the new book, but I kind of just did that. So we'll see. I might stream a little bit if there's something important in the book that wasn't covered tonight. Otherwise, that will be a game on the night of the 22nd. Don't miss it. Right here, live streaming against Francois, Custodes versus something. We're going to play a game with all the new rules and as many of the 9th rules as we know by then. So it'll be as comprehensive as we can make it for the new world. So June 22nd, mark it off. Follow us on Facebook because you'll see all the announcements for all these things. And follow us here on Twitch. And yeah. Last minute question by Sean Stryker. Snuck one in. Is it better to bring a shield captain in Alaris armor than a bike now? So much is deep striking in. Well, it depends. You might not have the points to deep strike captain in. If you're deep striking 2 hammers and a Telamon, like, you might not have the points. You might not even have the points to do those 3. So that's kind of moot. I think the Alaris captain allows him to take the axe, so you could take the 3D. I think if you're going to take an Alaris axe, Alaris captain, you're intending to take the 3 damage relic. I think. Otherwise, I just take a shield captain on bite because they're tougher, they move faster, they can get your auras where they need to get it better. And I think it's just better unless you are intending to deep strike the Alaris captain if you have the space to deep strike the Alaris captain. Because as far as we know, that rule has not changed. It's still like half your army. So points wise. Okay. Oh. Okay. So that's it, guys. Good night.